Live on YouTube.
Ah, free theater.
Hey, Chris, y'all finished that building on Phillip?
Yes, yeah, 100 Phillip Street is all tied up.
Good,
Finished
good.
up. Curb cut, everything.
Yeah, yeah. It's a shame about those buildings being fire damaged, though.
Absolutely. Do you know where Mrs. Jackson is? Is she still in the neighborhood?
I think she might be at some assisted living facility. I've spoken to her son, who lives on Bleecker Place.
Right.
And he said that they were trying to get her in some facility somewhere nearby. I'm quite sure that has happened.
Is that Barbara or is that her sister
Yeah,
that's an assistant?
Yeah, Barbara,
Okay.
Barbara Jackson.
That's too bad. I know she enjoyed her independence.
Yep.
Well, we do have 5 commissioners in attendance here, so we could get going. It is 6:01. I'll call the meeting to order. This is a scheduled meeting of the City of Albany Historic Resources Commission. My name is John Myers, Chair of the Commission. In attendance, we have Commissioner Hacker, Commissioner McEnany, Commissioner Pinckney, and Commissioner Garrity, and Aaron Glennon from the Planning Office as staff representative for the HRC. We will invite comments if anyone from the public wants to comment. We just request that they limit the duration of their comment to 3 minutes and keep it to the topic at hand as it relates to the duties of the Historic Resources Commission. We have 2 items on the agenda for public hearing, and then we have a public meeting for concept review later in the agenda. So without further ado, why don't we proceed with the first item on the agenda? That's 105 South Lake Avenue. And I see Joseph Matzner is online. This is in the South Lake Avenue Historic District. It's a return visit on the proposal to remove the existing masonry entry porch and construct a new entry porch, this time proposed with a roof. So I think if you're ready, why don't you proceed with the presentation or description of what you want to do.
Or Joe, can you unmute yourself?
I had called in from my phone.
Okay, we can hear you.
You guys can hear me okay?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So thanks for having me back again. I appreciate it. And thanks for the visits, John and Chris and Lee. Sorry, no one was here to meet you when you came as well. But thank you guys for coming out.
Your wife was there. She
Oh, she was?
you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Fantastic. So as you can see from the plans, I mean, I don't know if you need me to do a backstory. I think everyone's pretty familiar with what's going on. But as you can see from the plans, I spoke with 2 different masons. I spoke with Demetris Masonry as well as Scott Baker. And then I also actually spoke with Tom Kuntz, who originally came by and took a look at it. And then I spoke with my original contractor. And then I spoke with a new contractor. And this is where we landed, kind of taking the guidelines of what we all spoke about, all the feedback I got from John and Chris. And, we looked at it both from a perspective with a roof and without a roof. While from a aesthetic purpose, I'd love to have a roof. It also, really dawned on my wife, myself, and our contractor that if we had a roof up there, we'd be protecting the porch itself, for a lot longer and keep it more sustainable. So we built that into it, and from a price perspective, it is what it is at this point, and my contractor was able to try to keep it, kind of in an area where I could hopefully meet, the expectations. But outside of that, I really tried to meet all the, requirements from an aesthetic standpoint, as well as from, kind of covering up any type of framing that we'd be using with pressure treated wood, trying to match the shingles on the roof to the existing house, tie it into the neighborhood. Kind of sums it up for the most part. But from a masonry standpoint, the only person to actually give me a response, meet me in person, and finally provide me a quote was Demetrius Masonry. And it was pretty much in line with, restoring it through his eyes. From a masonry standpoint, was in line with doing the removal and new construction of the wood porch.
Okay, we've obviously received the plan. You've worked with TAC to develop the plan.
Correct.
And I did provide comments to Erin when she circulated this to us informally. No, I think it fits with the building. It complies with the limits of the existing elevated deck or elevated platform. And I think it, from a scale and massing standpoint, works with the building. So I would certainly invite other commissioners to provide their input as well.
I really, it works. The porch roof is a major addition because there wasn't a porch roof there from the beginning. And I don't know whether you have any evidence whether there at one point in time was a porch roof, but the porch roof makes sense. There's a lot of porch roofs in the area. I have no problem with it. I do have a couple of suggestions. The side elevation, you have the side of the roof, that sloping fascia board should be a little thicker than what it is. It should probably be the same thickness or height as the painted pine trim that the horizontal piece, which is also a fascia piece. And
Sorry, Lee, not to interrupt you. Would you mind providing your comments after the call through Erin or somebody, so that I can communicate them properly back to TAP for the drawing to make sure everything is?
Oh yeah.
I will.
Yeah. Okay.
Joe, I will put those in the minutes and then share those minutes with you. So I will communicate that.
Okay,
back.
great. Yeah,
Okay.
Sorry to interrupt, Lee. I just wanted to.
No
Thank
problem.
you.
I hear you. I understand. And the my other suggestion is to paint the sides of the porch and the steps maybe a gray, not to approximate the color of the stone, but I mean the stone I believe was original, and it would be good to harken back to some type of appearance. Although it's wood and it's not stone, and it's just a mere suggestion. You can paint it white, you can paint it black, but I think it would look good if it were to be painted a gray. Not the decking. Yeah. The decking you call out to be brown, that's fine. I mean, you can find a
honestly,
brown. You can find a brown.
We're open to any color.
Huh?
Okay. We're open to any color. I don't mean to keep interrupting you, but essentially for the drawing, there's, hey, what color do you want for this or that or this or that? And honestly, I think the color is more of an afterthought. That's something we can all agree upon if this were to be approved. And so anything that you guys have that you think would work, I'm, maybe it's something I didn't think of, or my contractor, or, the team at TAP. So, by all means, please recommend what you guys think, and we'd love to entertain it.
All right. And the other suggestion, I don't know, maybe you want to paint the paint is, to me, I would paint my railings black, but then it makes it look more like the metal railings that's already there. That's my feeling.
The plan.
But the roof, the asphalt shingles should be a different color than the existing roof color, just to make it not look original. Not to give the impression of it being original to the roof, to the main roof. But other than that, I think it works better than the original scheme across the entire front. And it's nice and quaint, and it's compact, and I think it works. I think it really works.
Thank you. I think you're trying to speak, Chris, but I can't hear you.
Chris, can you unmute yourself? Yeah.
I just want to say, I think it's a great choice, and I think it really works in the situation you were working with, and I think you made a great choice. I like it a lot.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Oh, hold on. Jack, can you unmute yourself? Hold on, Jack, we can't hear you.
Okay.
Okay.
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you.
Yep, we can hear you now.
I was pleased to see that you would put some sort of, it's a small, but some sort of capital on each of the two porch posts. Very often I see people put up just boards, and they are big blocks of wood that are square. And I was happy to see you do that. I was listening earlier to the idea of making it not look like it was the original. On the other hand, if it were the original and if it had been done wooden, it probably would not have had vertical boards on the base. It probably would have had a lattice work. And I think if you look around the neighborhood for those porches that are from that period, I think they all have lattice work. It's I don't have strong feelings on it, but I have a feeling that lattice, which is not terribly expensive, would look more appropriate with the rest of the house, particularly the upper part, which is very Victorian.
And your recommendation would to do that the full wrap, essentially the whole way through, or just on the side?
Instead of on the bottom, you've got the vertical boards. And to me, that's something very contemporary on a house that is not very contemporary. It's just a personal choice, and I'm certainly not objecting, but I have a feeling that lattice would be more in keeping with the rest of the house. I'd be interested in what anybody else might want to say.
I will just state, Jack, that the ordinance does require that alterations to historic structures be of their own time and differentiate it from the historic building, and that the ordinance does allow for the use of contemporary materials in place of
I don't think it would be against lattice work, though.
no. I'm just, that they don't have to necessarily pull from neighboring
not at all.
structures, but it can be of its own time and should be slightly different so that it is differentiated as a new alteration to the structure.
I think the railing will be clearly not the originals.
Well, I agree that lattice work is seen on a lot of buildings, either diagonal or horizontal and vertical. But you know, the vertical boards, I think, work as well. And to Aaron's point, and I would imagine a point that Lee would make, it does differentiate it from the house. Also, if you're going to paint the base a gray, it gives you a little more surface to paint and look somewhat like, or not, won't look like it, but it will continue the continuity of the stone base of the building with a gray base to it. So, I mean, I certainly could go either way with it, but those are just my thoughts.
Yeah, the tongue and groove works better visually. It's the tongue and groove to me. It creates a more solid appearance, similar to the solid appearance of the stone.
Okay.
You know, the lattice work is more. This is a porch, indeed, and the lattice work works good as a material for the porch, but I think the beaded board, the tongue and groove beaded board, acting as a solid material, a solid appearing material, works better here, in my opinion.
I don't think that's beaded board in the drawing, is it?
Tongue and groove
Yeah,
beadboard
beadboard.
siding. Yeah,
Beadboard.
beadboard siding.
Okay. I can go along with that. And the idea of the solid mass in the foundation, reminiscent of the stone, but of modern materials. Okay.
Mhm.
Aaron, did you have comments?
I was going to say, just say something that I did like the beadboard, and I think that it is even covering something up. I think it's going on top of the panel, whereas the lattice work is typically on the porch is typically open to the crawl space below. So, but we came to a resolution. So.
I would also suggest that you try to level up as much of the walkway from the steps down to the sidewalk, because it's somewhat hazardous. You know, you may want to think about that at some point in the future.
It's in the plans for this.
Okay, good.
Yeah, so you're not the only one, believe me. Try mowing that thing around
Yeah.
that. I should say.
Mhm.
Get a little icy and skate right down to the street.
Yeah, I know. It's like if it was any steeper, I'd be on South Pine. My kids would be sledding into the street. Thankfully, it's not.
All right. I would entertain a motion from the commission on this matter if we're finished discussing it.
Yeah, I make a motion that we approve the design of the proposed porch, and with roof and stairs and railings, and for the applicant to take into consideration the comments and suggestions that were made at the meeting that Aaron will provide.
I'll second that.
Okay. Do we have any
We
Buddy,
do.
that would like to comment from the audience?
Yes. Leah, if you could just state your name, and then
Yes,
you have
hi.
3 minutes.
Sure. Hi, this is Leah Golby from the Pine Hills Neighborhood Association. I'm the co-chair of the Zoning and Code Enforcement Committee, though my comments right now are not going to reflect the Pine Hills Neighborhood Association or the Zoning and Code Enforcement Committee because we haven't discussed this latest development. I do live basically around the corner, and I did watch the the last meeting that you held on this project, and I just want to thank each of you involved in this, the commission and Mr. Matzner for your incredible, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm not coming up with the word I'm looking for, but you know, just the depth of understanding of the various things to consider that the commission does consider, and being able to work with Mr. Matzner and Mr. Matzner being able to work with the commission. I personally do think that this works very well. And so I do hope that the commission you know, fully supports it. It sounds like you're going that way, and just thank you all for your work. This is, I normally go to BZA meetings and planning board meetings, and it's rare that I go to a historic resources commission meeting. So that last meeting that I attended was really interesting, and I'll come back for more. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Julia.
And you're always welcome to participate in our meetings.
One last thought, the posts are going to be painted, aren't they?
Yeah, I believe so. I think on the drawings, they call out for the post to be painted,
Okay,
Yes.
including the railings and all that stuff, the roof, the sides of the new roof.
I think for record, if we can just have the paint, the ultimate paint colors submitted to Aaron.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I can work with Aaron when that time comes as well.
Okay.
Obviously, it's going to be phases that this all occurs in, right? With removal would be a nicer term of it, but removal of the existing porch and what have you as we kind of move forward and pull permits. I'll communicate with Erin, and she can provide me with, again, all comments and recommendations. And like Leah kind of mentioned, and like I've said previously, I want it to be a collaboration. I want this to be best for Albany, the Resource Commission, and ourselves. So whatever you guys need.
And generally, painting within historic districts is an administrative review. So we can walk through that when you're ready to paint.
Okay.
Okay. No, I think this looks very nice.
Yeah.
It was a good exercise in reviewing the conditions and working with the applicant. We appreciate your willingness to work with us as well on this. So I will call the matter to a
Absolutely.
vote. All those in favor, please signify by waving or saying aye.
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 Hi.
I'm waving and I'm saying aye.
Oh, very good, Lee. And all those opposed? Okay, the motion is carried without opposition. So go forward and enjoy the fall. You have a project ahead
I
of
will.
you.
Yes, I do.
It's a very nice house and a nice neighborhood, and I appreciate the efforts you're making.
Yeah.
For both your family and
Sure.
for all of us.
Well, post-COVID, anyone is welcome. We did a full renovation inside, and it's pretty cool. So thank you guys. I appreciate everyone's help with this.
Welcome.
Just
Thank
one
you.
question, whoops.
Did we lose him?
Oh, you're still there.
Yep.
Was there any plan to salvage any of the stones that you peel off the foundation of the?
You guys tell me. The biggest concern, both from Tom as well from Demetris, was specifically the stones that kind of lay on top. A lot of them have the, whatever you want to call it, some adhesive. Some of them called it stucco, some of them called it something else that would need to be chiseled away to be reused if they didn't fall apart. But outside of that, I'm happy to donate whatever you guys would like. I would just need to have a direction from the commission on how you want me to proceed before, I kind of get my contractor in here to start.
Well, when they take it apart, that'll become evident. So, you know, they may form a nice little sidewalk someplace or the surround for a garden.
Or a terrace over there.
Just a random thought.
So essentially, yeah, so you,
It's at your
I
discretion.
know obviously the south side, well, the south side can obviously be salvaged or salvageable to a degree. I don't know much about the north side because it hasn't cracked as much, but again, I'll do the best I can to salvage what I can, whether it be to donate to you guys or upon your discretion where to bring it.
Historic Albany, you might contact Historic Albany and see if they could use the stones, if they would
Sure.
use them. I'm with John though, like it'd be a nice garden surround. But that,
our
I think that's a little out of our
backyard's
purview.
Yeah.
My backyard's not
approve
too big, so I
gardens.
can't find it. Noted.
It's not our jurisdiction.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you.
Thank you. So I guess I'll let you guys move on, but Erin, you'll contact me directly, or how does that work?
Yeah, I will be in contact. I will write up the minutes and the final decision. And then I will send you those so that you can pass on the comments and recommendations to TAP and have those reflected on the drawings. They're not necessarily conditions, so they're just, you know, they're things to consider as you move forward.
Okay.
And then we can go from there. So we'll, once we get everything written up, we can issue the certificate. I can issue issue a certificate of appropriateness, and then move forward from there.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone. I appreciate it.
Okay. Well,
Welcome.
thank you.
Good luck.
Good luck.
Have a great night.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is 33 Garden Alley in the Center Square, Hudson Park Historic District. And there is a proposal to replace a number of non-original windows and alter the size of or install new sash windows on side elevations. So if someone is present to represent this project.
Hi, my name is Susan Lamonaco, and I'm helping out the owners with 33 Garden Alley renovations. So I was going to present the project for you guys. The main renovation that we'll be doing that concerns historic is with the 3 windows at the front. They were replaced in 2000 with centerline windows. It's a brand I've never heard of or worked with before. Apparently they're from the Midwest and they aren't available on the Northeast at all. And they're somewhat low grade. The middle window, window B that I have labeled in this picture, is cracked and there's fogging in between the insulated glass. So definitely would like to replace those windows. The other, or that window and the window A and C on either side of it are functioning okay as of now. They're not as energy efficient as you would really like them to be. And both of them have a small amount of fogging in between the insulated glass, but not as obtrusive as window B. Since we're looking to replace all 3 windows, we would go with a window that's off of the approved window list that Aaron Glennon had passed on to us. Originally, we were looking at Anderson 400 Woodwright series, but may go to another window if that's okay with you guys on the list. The same configuration, same measurements and size as what we're proposing. The one change that we would like to make with the existing size of the windows is window A and B. We were hoping to raise the sill 12 inches so that Kevin and Mike, the owners, would be able to build some window storage and a window seat underneath the sill. Because right now the sill is about only 12 inches from the ground. Looking around at the other areas, I don't know, Aaron, if you can find the context picture. Looking at other, carriage houses on this street and other carriage houses in Center Square and Hudson Park, these windows were never original to the carriage houses themselves. They're always added in during a renovation throughout history. This house in particular was renovated in 1981, and there were no windows on this elevation. But looking around at other carriage houses, I noticed that the sill height doesn't seem to be a standard set dimension. So I didn't think that raising the sill height, I felt like we would keep the same width and the same head height in order to keep the rhythm of the existing windows, but also accommodate the owner's wishes. The other window that we talked about in the application is along the east elevation that's visible from the parking lot side. But since we put in this application, we've decided not to add that window. So we're taking it out if that's possible at this point. I mean, I'm sure you aren't going to argue with that. We also put in the application 2 other windows, but they're completely not visible by the public right of way or circulation. The only other thing that's on this application is refinishing the siding, and that would just be a scrape, paint, clean, and repainting to match the existing colors, the original colors.
So for clarification, window F in this image is not going to be installed.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you're saying window F is being installed, is proposed,
No.
right? Oh, it's
It
not.
was in the proposal, but we've taken it out.
Okay, all right, all right. I have a question. Before any work began prior to 1981, there was just a wall and that hayloft opening on the second floor, am I correct?
Yes, it was a double height garage. The original carriage house, what is no longer there, and this house was rebuilt in the same spot in 1935. This is a picture that Aaron's showing here is a picture from 1976 before they did the renovation in 1981.
Right.
I have no picture to see. All I see is ZOON. I have no image other than that.
Can you see the current photo?
Nope. Nope. Just says Zoom. I can see who's here and attending, but I don't see anything. I've been paying attention and trying to look at my what was sent. I've got it. Well, you know what? Don't worry about it. I've got it on my laptop.
Okay.
So you do that.
All right, well, when, to continue, and I don't know how the other commissioners feel. I'm going back and forth with this. The 2 new windows, the smaller windows, I believe would be appropriate since the historic appearance was a solid wall. And in 1981, they put in 2 new windows. So the windows can change because the existing windows aren't historic anyway. And I guess I'm not having a problem with 2 smaller windows, but I do not like the idea of having the the meeting rails align with the meeting rail of the existing of Windows C that's also being replaced. It should be an equal 1/1 light type of appearance.
Yeah, I think we're very flexible with that.
Now, I don't know what the other commissioners feel. At first I was thinking, well, let's just have them replace the windows the same size as they exist now. But that's why I wanted to see, go back to what the original historic appearance was, which were no windows at all. And they were allowed in 1981. The applicants were allowed to put in 2 windows. Actually 3 windows. The window C was in the existing hayloft opening itself. So I don't see a major problem in putting in A and B smaller windows. I have no problem with the other windows. On the other sides of the building, I have no problem with that.
I agree all 3 windows should match.
Well, I'm not agreeing to that. Jack, I'm saying that the windows A and B should have equal lights. It could be smaller as the applicant proposes, but the 1/1 appearance should be equal size one. Both sashes should be equal in size. Because the way they have it now, they're having the meeting rails align, the meeting rails of windows A and B align with the meeting rail of window C. And window C is a taller window than the new windows A and B.
So if we were to have equal sashes, the meeting rail would be about 6 inches higher, which I think would be not a huge visual impact from the ground.
Not unless you want it, well, window C is the original opening, hayloft opening. Am I correct?
I'm not entirely positive because it does have a sill that's 12 inches off the ground. I think the original hayloft openings were a full doorway.
Okay.
But we really, I mean, we just have that grainy picture for this particular building.
Yeah.
And actually, in that old picture, it looked like the head of the opening was a little bit lower because there seemed to be more distance between the head of the window and the projected hoisting beam.
Yeah, you're right.
Yes, you're right. You're right. You're right. So that's changed too.
Yeah.
So, technically you can probably change all 3 windows the same size as windows A and B and have them all the same size. That might be an option too. And the reason I'm saying, the window changes are okay because it's already been okay 20, 30 years ago. Well, 40 years ago.
Unfortunately, 40 years ago.
Yeah, right, 40 years, so I just think the meeting rails should if the windows are reduced in size, A and B are reduced in size, the meeting rails should be in the middle.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that. I don't think the owners would either.
What else you could do?
I have some reservations about shortening the size of the windows. They're not, I know that they have been, thanks. I know they were changed in 1981, and I know that there were not windows there before. But given that they've been there for almost 40 years like that, I think that it would be the most appropriate thing to replace them fully in kind at this point. I also have some concerns about, I don't know how you're going to fill it in, and this is not, I understand this is outside of the HFC purview, but I would have some concerns about energy efficiency. If you're shortening the window, how you're filling in that opening, if you're insulating, all that. Generally, shortening window openings is just not a great idea, in my experience, unless it's really what was a window opening is well constructed to create a new wall. And then I guess, are you going to fill that in with a clapboard? So you'll take the trim off, you'll replace the trim in kind, but you'll pull up the sill, and then you'll replace the clapboards along that, so you'll have a solid clapboard line.
What I would like to ask the contractor to do, it's just a wood frame wall. So absolutely add in as much insulation as required for a typical wall, especially this wall, if not some more. And when it comes to the trim or the siding on the outside, we would remove pieces of the siding in full lengths so that there isn't a cut line where the new wall is added, but take a full piece of siding at staggered joints and replace those siding, which would look absolutely seamless after everything is scraped and painted and cleaned and repainted.
Yeah.
I would say I would say a smaller window typically is more energy efficient than a larger window.
It's mostly in the air loss that comes through the air infiltration, so you're getting minimal heat loss through the glass itself. But so yeah, I guess it feels like a big intervention in an existing building in a historic district, and so that's my 2 cents.
Well, I mean, do we consider that the full height windows as originally renovated back in the 80s, have assumed some level of significance of their own, and that should be preserved? I guess I'm like Lee, I can go either way with it. But as far as the harmony and unity of the front elevation, I think preserving the full height, unless you're doing something completely different with that paired window opening, similar to what you see with some of the other carriage houses that were part of the presentation. Because often there is something very special done over the door. The roll-up door is often very different than what happens on the rest of the elevation. So it, in some measure, it's a canvas to work with celebrating that opening somewhat differently.
Yeah, I'm with you, John. I think that's part of my reaction to it is I'd rather see something be very different and very clearly a modern, a 2020 design piece on the building, rather than just making a window box shorter.
I mean, in defense of the design, I really feel like this would be such a minimal change that it wouldn't change the history or visual of the building whatsoever from the ground looking up. I feel like it's I definitely understand if we were changing the window out entirely and trying to put a historic looking window back in, but this I think is not like the level of this sill is not what defines the history of this building. And I think all of the other buildings on the street kind of exemplify that, as well as they're all slightly uneven for different characteristics. And I think it's just very minimal and non-invasive.
Would it make sense for the applicant to do, to provide us with elevation drawing of the new windows, of the shorter windows, to see how it looks? Because to me, the entire facade has been compromised.
Yeah.
40 years ago it was compromised.
Mhm.
And I think if it was a compromise 52 years, well, then we could, it has earned, 40 years is old, but 50 years is the period where everything after 50 is historic, technically. But I just think the entire thing has been compromised. From the beginning, it's been compromised.
Yeah, I don't think there's a lot of 1980s historic buildings. Not yet, anyway.
Haven't met the threshold yet.
Yeah.
Hey
Yeah,
everyone, if I could, oh, I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say, I wouldn't fall on my sword saying that the window openings should be maintained. It's just, that's my 2 cents. If there's a consensus that it's not, yeah. I don't feel strongly either way. I guess you're getting a lot of ambivalence.
I'd like to revise my original opinion that all 3 windows should be the same height, because I'm looking now at the drawing and I realize that the beam that extends over the alley, which was used to send hay and other things up, is still there. And so leaving one window that had a different function, different from the other 2, which are close to the other, that I can see the uneven windows, that the 2 that are proposed to be shortened, they have a different function from the one that once upon a time actually was a door to send things up with the beam. So I'd be in favor of the 2 and 1.
The owners, I believe, would like to speak.
Oh, I was just, yeah, my name is Keith, everyone. My partner Mike and I just moved to Albany, so thank you for having us.
Welcome
And we
aboard.
love this house, and we love the neighborhood, and so we want to do it justice. And so I just wanted to, I was actually going to say what was just said, and having 2 smaller windows that are closer together visually seems to make sense, with the larger window that was used as the hay hoisting opening. At least, and that's from my very uneducated in terms of historic architecture opinion.
Now, it does help differentiate the original functionality differences. I mean, there was no window where windows A and B are. So providing an opening there that's different than the old hoisting window certainly makes sense.
And again, it's the compromise. The second floor has been compromised already, and all we're doing is adding to the compromising. But we're not. Yeah, I don't think the applicant is doing anything that looks horrible. I mean, you're talking a foot. That's why I'm saying maybe an elevation drawing would help us in our decision. It's great that they're reusing and installing new clapboard to match the existing to fill in that 1 foot gap underneath those windows. The only thing I suggest is that it be a 1/1 appearance, 1 light over 1 light, both lights equal, not the way it is now where the top light, the top sash is taller than the bottom sash. And like I said, I have no problem with the other windows, because basically those windows you don't see from the street.
All right. Well, I tend to concur with Lee's sentiments on this application. I don't
Am I
know if we need an elevation view. I mean, you can kind of put your finger underneath the on the screen and kind of block out the area beneath the dotted red line and have a reasonable feel what the different proportion of the windows would look like.
Yeah, but make sure you bring up that meeting rail too.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you, and I prefer it that way anyway. It would be easier.
Aaron, did you have?
I was going to say, my dog's about to bark. So Lee, are you saying that for you, you want them to come back with more drawings, or do you feel like you'd be ready to make a decision today? I wasn't sure.
Frankly, I requested a drawing so that we can all take a look at it. I know how I think I know how it would look. You know, another suggestion is probably put some type of signboard over the garage opening. You know, I mean, just a signboard, just to break up or add a different feature to the facade, since the windows since A and B are being hiked up a foot.
What's a signboard? What do you mean by that?
It's signboards are boards. You can find them in commercial buildings where it has the name of the store, like a grocery store or Sam's Meat Market or something like that. But in this case, you wouldn't have. It would just be a board that can be painted a different color, and that would just add another feature, so that those two windows A and B don't look too small over the garage door. That's just a thought. That may be totally not even necessary. But yeah, I really don't think elevation drawing is absolutely necessary. It's just for us to look at. And then, again, I think I can visualize how a smaller window would look with the meeting rail in the middle of each of the two windows. So Aaron, it's not absolutely necessary.
I would plead for you not to make me do an elevation drawing, just because it takes time and I don't want to.
I think we have enough information to render a decision. I mean, I've been kind of thinking, oh, what would you do if you put a planter box in that 1 foot strip, so that the bottom of it would align with the other window, but it would be a very different feature and allow you to raise the sill of the windows to meet the objectives of the applicant. And it would add a little more interest to the front elevation of the building. But
I noticed a lot of the houses on the street have done similar things, and it looks really nice.
Got good southern exposure. Great idea.
Yeah, we actually
we love that idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's better than a signboard. Yep, you're absolutely right.
Beautiful.
Well, do we have enough information to offer a motion?
I'll move to accept the proposal with the stipulation that you'll have an even height 1/1 window, not without regard to the meeting rails matching window C, and a strong suggestion for the window boxes. I don't think we can manage that, but unless I'm wrong, oh, that's
Second.
Okay.
Does this also include the approval for painting the house the same color? I don't know if we would have to.
You'll need to submit that to me as an administrative review. So I will need, I don't believe you supplied the brand and color information on the original application. I can go back and look, but that's something that's reviewed administratively. So.
That's we did say just to match existing on the original application. We would use Sherwin-Williams, and we would just do a color match. Like, so how do you provide the color match if it's not a specific color?
Either through, I mean, we have photographs or paint chips. So,
okay.
Which is, you know, for the current situation, we'll take a photo. That's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
A lot of different colors on the front. Which one are you going to use?
An old denim shirt.
Yeah.
Is the clapboard original?
No.
Does that date from the 1981 renovation?
I don't think so. I think the 81 renovation had exposed CMU. Oh no, it had like a wider clapboard.
Oh yeah.
Oh no, maybe I'm wrong. No,
Yeah.
I'm wrong.
The 1976 photo and the blue form description has it as CMU block on the first level, and I think
Asphalt shingle on the second.
So.
And then in the 81, yeah, it does look like it matches what was shown on the 81. I mean, that's just a drawing, but.
But did the asphalt shingles, were they covering the clapboard? Well, no. You're right. That clapboard is
probably that insul brick stuff that was plastered up on all over town.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Uh-oh, someone's voting.
That's not my dog.
Oh, it's your dog.
Usually it is.
All right. Aaron, do we have anyone from the audience that would like to speak?
We do not.
Okay. That being said, I would call the motion to a vote. All those in favor, please wave and say aye.
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 Jack's there someplace.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, the motion is carried unanimously, and we look forward to seeing the results of your efforts.
Thank you very much, guys. Thanks for the suggestions. They're excellent.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Yes, we plan on having flower boxes. Thank you.
It'll just differentiate a little bit from others in the neighborhood.
They look great.
Yeah, I think so.
All right. The next item on the agenda is characterized as a public meeting, and it's concept review for painting a mural on 45 Columbia Street. It's the downtown Albany Historic District, and the applicant is the Albany Center Gallery. Aaron, is there anyone signed up to speak on behalf of this?
Yes, Georgette is from the Downtown Albany Bid, and then Tony from Albany Center Gallery are both here to speak on the proposal.
Okay.
Hi, so I think I'm going to start and then Tony can get into some of the specifics. As part of the Downtown Revitalization Initiative that Albany received last year, we had applied in partnership with Albany Center Gallery for the continuation of the Capitol Walls mural project for 4 murals. To what we're trying to do is really, there's so many really great corridors that are becoming major connectors for residential, for office, new parking spaces, those kind of things, and where we're seeing a lot of new retail. And so the award was in the Clinton Square area. And so we have one project tonight that we're showing you the rendering from the artist, and the other is a property that we want to specifically talk about what you think about what we could do on that project. So we received roughly $70,000 to complete 4 murals, really from Steuben over to Livingston in that area. So I'll turn it over to Tony to run through how they selected the artists, the paint materials, and the like.
Hi, I'm at a Zoom meeting. Who's this?
Awesome. Thank you, Georgia and committee for taking the time. So this piece will be a continuation. Hi, my name is Tony Adesico. I'm the director of Albany Center Gallery and also the curator of the Capitol Walls program. This would be coming up on our 5th year of doing public murals in downtown specifically. This would tie into past projects that we've done over the past couple of years to really inspire, uplift, and create a sense of place and identity throughout the locations. This piece is specifically done by 2 artists. They go by Riz Boogie. So it's actually 2 artists. One artist lives in Poughkeepsie and the other one lives in Brooklyn. And the goal with this project, but also with the individual pieces, is to showcase our local talents that we have in the Capital Region, but also bring in visitors from outside of Albany and the Capital Region, also the state, also throughout the country, and have visiting artists come through our area and really create a sense of art and kind of increase the level of, I guess, recognition and identity for public art throughout the country and throughout the world. And Albany has been able to work with artists that are, some of the top artists throughout the country and the world, and they're coming to downtown Albany. This one specifically, again, by 2 artists, is to uplift and inspire. Inside of the visuals is actually inspirational words and phrases that the artist Riz Boogie wanted to create. And the goal is we try to give artists artistic freedom and creativity to share stories and to share who they are. And part of our process with this location was identifying it in our application, I believe it was about 1.5 years, 2 years ago, was to try to find spaces throughout the corridor that they were focusing on for the DRI. So this is one of the 4 locations. Currently, they're under construction now to do residential. For 10 years, the gallery, Albany Center Gallery, was actually located at 39 Columbia. So this was pretty much our space for a couple of years, for 10 years. And then we recently moved to the arcade building. So it's still within a few blocks from where we currently are. And yeah, so this process, we've done, I think, 16 murals to date. That's kind of more of the visual of how it would actually look on the space. If you go back to one more slide, I apologize. So back into, if you keep going down Columbia, there's actually another one that intersects at Water Street, and that was actually done. So the goal was to kind of really create a walking path or a bicycle path for people to kind of navigate throughout the downtown area. And then we can go forward. So the yellow background is actually how the visual would be, and it would fit right inside of that space. And yeah, I think it's exciting a piece. We've talked with other artists and community folks that also are excited to have this piece come to life. The business owner of the new space, Redburn, and also across the way where the Troy or the Albany kitchen will open, are also excited for the project. So we're hoping that we can do the proper paperwork and make sure that it's done the right way. And the goal is for this to last 15, 20 years, just based on the paints and what we're trying to do. And and again, in 15, 20 years, we're hoping that other artists or other community members are able to create something in this location. So it won't last for 50 years. It won't last for 100 years. But that's not the goal with the public art. We really wanted to kind of go with the times and create a platform for creative people to share.
So we also, as part of the funding is coming through homes and community renewal at the state. And so we did go through a SHPO approval process. And so we have received, gosh, what is the specific language? But we received that there's no adverse effect to the historic district on this property. 39 Columbia is one of the locations we're looking at, and then we're going to discuss with you 201 North Pearl Street. So they've already reviewed that as part of this project as well.
Extremely ambitious and very bold. I have a question. Why choose yellow as your background?
So the artists identified that as a color that they thought would work well for that piece itself. I don't know if there's any symbolic meaning behind the color yellow. My thought is just working with purple and some of the colors that are in there, it kind of does help make those colors jump off of a little bit more. But I don't think that it is anything that is possibly significant to the artist, but I can follow up with them.
Yeah, I was just interested. It's an eye catcher. It
Yeah.
really catches your eye, you know.
I think, I'm sorry.
No, I agree. It's an eye catcher. It's definitely very vibrant, and it's hard to not see when it's there. So.
Yeah, you're right.
Well, it's fulfilling its goal then.
I think it's great, and I don't really think that it's I don't feel it's my place as a historic resources commissioner to comment on public art. It's the artist's work, and I think it's great. And the building has been painted before, so it's not harming the building. That would be, I think, the only place where I would feel that I had jurisdiction, because I don't think it's appropriate to comment on an artist's artwork. It's their artwork. The only question I have is, it looks like the yellow is going over a window. Is that just the way it's projecting? Is the window going to be painted? SHPO said that's okay. I guess that's fine. That kind of
Sorry. Yeah, so for more clarification, that yellow will actually end, so it's about a 20-foot wide wall. So from the right to the left, that will actually be the space, even actually from the left-hand side to the right, it will end right at that window,
Okay.
right where the roof itself drops down about a foot or two, it will actually end clear there.
Okay, so that projection was not an indication. It's not going to have that big diagonal line.
Yeah, no, I apologize, especially as a visual thing, it should be very close to exactly what it's going to be. So I apologize about that.
That was my only comment. Otherwise, I think it's great, and I commend the downtown bid and Albany Center Gallery for taking on this initiative. I think it's a really great thing to have more murals and more public art downtown.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
No, I think it looks great. I think it's vibrant, exciting addition to downtown. You said that the paints and the pigments are intended to last about 20 years, plus or minus.
Yeah.
Is there some program to, obviously, maintenance of it in its anticipated lifetime is a consideration.
Yeah, so for the ones that we've done and also going forward, for me,
I think your audio is freezing up.
Yeah, I think Tony's internet connection may not be doing so well.
For me, the fresh
Oh,
paint
there it
and kind
is.
of has more years onto it because it feels kind of glossy still. You can kind of see the finish on it. I prefer them when they're a little bit older. But as far as the plan forward, there'll be a clear coat graphics, it's called. It actually prevents or doesn't prevent graffiti. The vibrancy goes onto it because it feels like it's part of a kind of glossy still. You can coat graphics, it's called. It'll be clear coat, but not actually go through the clear coat. So that's something that we would apply to the mural itself, but it also helps with UV protection and sunlight and any damages like that.
Mhm.
It also is, you know, murals for sure are a deterrent for graffiti, which we certainly struggle with in downtown. And, you know, at least any of the public art that we've done, we've not had it graffitied. I know Tony and I were talking and he said next to a mural, someone put their name, but not physically on the mural. So it is nice to take a wall that probably in the past has been a blank canvas for graffiti to now have artwork that then is usually respected and not damaged.
Well, it's nice to see our graffiti artists respecting the work of others. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have some problems with it in that I'm going to be looking down the street at Union Station, and I turn up the street and I see the Kenmore Hotel, and I see that this clashes, particularly by color and in size, to be in no way complement the neighborhood that it's in. It's in an historic neighborhood. It has federal buildings across the street from it. And to me, we put up under the CETA program probably 30 or more public murals all over the city of Albany. And they didn't look like this. They didn't clash with the neighborhood. They blended with the neighborhoods. I don't know. I don't see where it makes Union Station look better. And I don't think that, I mean, it's nice that two people, by the way, all of our people were in Albany County that came up with these. They didn't come from another county or another neighborhood to do them. And the Center Gallery was founded by the CETA program, by Les Urbach, who worked for me. So we went through an awful lot of these, and some of these murals were fabulous, very well accepted. A lot of nature and a lot of history, and I don't see where it complements Union Station or the neighborhood that it's in. I think it looks like it's imposed on it rather than being a part of it. I have seen some where there's a compatibility, the one that has Rockefeller on it, that type of thing, and certainly the one that Henry Johnson is there. It's a wonderful mural. I wish we had known enough to tell him to take the falling soffit off the top of the front of the building, since it's half gone. But people mention it all the time. This is, I don't think it's compatible with what we're doing, particularly with all the renovation of the Kenmore and what we hope is going to be okay for the area that we've put in a lot of residential. I think it's a bit much, and I think it clashes. I think that word clashes is my own, so.
Times are changing, and this is a total change from the norm. And you know, it's a large mural, and I don't think it detracts from the historic neighborhood, the Kenmore Hotel, as Jack says, and Union Station. They're all separate entities, and this is, to me, this is just an image showing change. And that's what we're all about at this juncture in our lives anyway, change.
Yeah.
I think it's a wonderful addition to the neighborhood.
If you don't mind, if I can just jump in, I don't want to interrupt anyone. So I guess the exciting part is when we do tours and bring people from outside of the area to go downtown, we actually highlight a lot of the historic property that's there, and people are excited to go on the tours to see kind of, I guess, edgier art or something that's a little bit more vibrant and colorful. But they also are appreciative to the history and to the buildings and architecture that is downtown. So I think actually bringing all of these worlds together to create a space where people feel welcome, that they can explore, that they can learn more and kind of maybe push boundaries, I think is part of the excitement. And with the owners, as you said, of the properties of the Kenmore, and especially residential, they've seen the visual and they're actually excited for that. And I think that they also know their tenants will be appreciative of the artwork as well. So I think even for the residents that are moving in there, it will be something for them. And I guess that's the exciting part, is bringing people down to the city to see these other locations is part of the excitement.
If we were to compare this mural, proposed mural, with the ones that are on the concrete that holds up the arterial highway system in back of the Quackenbush house, and does the same things, the exit where the dog park is, there's no problem. When you start going on to a very specific historic area as opposed to concrete supports of a highway, you lose me.
Well, I thank you for that, and obviously all the feedback is hopefully helpful for us to make the best going forward, and trying to, I guess, keep providing platforms and spaces for creative people to share, their stories, and I guess just kind of documenting and going with the time now, and really just highlighting, I guess, where we are in 2020. For me, this piece is, I think, very important, and I think will speak to community to kind of think beyond and go a little bit further.
Is there any other input or feedback that anyone else wants to give us as we get ready to submit our application for formal approval?
Those are some really big sneakers.
I think it's great. I don't know if this came up while my dog was barking and I was dealing with that, but the type of paint that's used, I think another commissioner might have brought this up. I just want to make sure that it's appropriate for the building, and that the paint itself isn't going to be some sort of heavy waterproof, something that's moisture can get trapped behind. So I would just make sure that whatever the paint that's being used is something that is breathable, so that the mural can be maintained for as long as possible. And I was kind of fast forwarding 20 years in my mind and thinking in 20 years, the Historic Resources Commission is probably going to be trying to figure out how to conserve it so that, so there should be some sort of record of, this is only meant to be for 20 years and paint over it in 20 years. But I was thinking about the project to repaint the signs years ago. Anyways, yeah, it's neat. I like to see it moving forward, but that's my only 2 cents is about the paint. Just make sure it's nothing that's super rubbery, heavy, waterproof, but I'm sure you're on that already.
Yeah, we can provide that in the submission, but it is a Sherwin-Williams exterior latex paint. This is what they recommend for the projects like this. And some of it will also be spray paint that will be applied to the actual surface itself. And from what I've seen, it doesn't come off easy. So we're actually going to be protecting the piece, ideally, if it happens, with an anti-graffiti protector on it, which again just creates this kind of surface barrier between the actual paint itself that can be removed.
Okay.
That's a good idea. That's a good idea.
I guess one little building conservation question, there are some areas where the plaster or the stucco coating on the building appear to kind of mirror old roof lines or something that intersected into it. Are those areas going to be plastered over and cured as a substrate for the paint? Or is the mural intended to cover exactly what's there now?
Yeah, the mural will cover what's there. We've actually looked at those a little bit more. They're very tight. They're not actually peeling away from the wall itself. So we plan to go right on top of it with the paint that we have.
Okay, I just wouldn't want to see the plaster coating on the building compromise the artwork at some point in the future.
Absolutely. And I can talk with the building owners about that as well, but I think from their condition, leaving it as is was the surface that we were approved from them.
Okay.
Go for it, man. Go for it.
Exciting. And Lee's right. It's, you know, times are changing.
So this will come back. Am I unmuted? This will come back before you all, hopefully at the next HRC meeting on October 7th for formal review.
Okay.
There were other addresses listed in the package that we had.
Yes.
Are those coming back with different artwork, or what is happening with those other addresses?
Yeah, so the next, oh yeah, go ahead, Tony. Yeah, 39 Columbia.
Yep. So this location here is 39 Columbia. It's actually on the backs or the opposite side of where the other mural is that you would just see. And this is actually on aluminum. The mock-up that we have there, the artist is still working on renderings based on two things. The space 201, which is on North Pearl Street, the artist would be working with the community to create the piece. So it's not actually alive or created yet, because part of the work comes from actually working with the community. And then based on that, that's how the mural will be informed to be created. This would be the third location out of the 4 locations for the DRI project. And depending on how either this meeting or the next HRC meeting goes, that artist might actually use this space. But again, no visuals are there. It's more of sharing this ahead of time to see if there's any concern with the location being on the aluminum and being across or near other locations that might be historic.
I would think somebody would be concerned who's going to build a building in front of it. That's a pretty valuable piece of property there.
The Redburn Development owns this building, and they also own the lot, and they're using it for parking for their tenants.
Well, downtown parking, as downtown keeps bringing more and more people in, particularly for condos and for apartments, that it's only a matter of time before somebody builds something. That's a pretty valuable piece of property. And, you know, it's, I think you should understand you're taking a risk on it surviving for 13 years.
Actually, the development of that parcel came to the HRC about 30 years ago.
I think I saw a mock-up that was, because our old gallery used to be there, and in the basement there was a rendering of what somebody did present from 20 or 30 years ago. Yeah, I guess with public art, and if somebody does decide to develop and Redburn does sell it, for the art not lasting, again, if somebody builds it and there is a sliver of space for somebody to see it, then it's a hidden gem throughout the city. So I don't think that artists will be upset. and it's, I guess, out of at least our control as far as the development takes place, because it is ever changing and growing. We just support whatever positive growth and change can happen.
Well, with all those windows on that side elevation, I would imagine any building, I don't know where the lot lines are, but there would be a lot of conversation about a lot of things if something went up right there. So there would have to be some sort of space.
Also
for
in the contract.
Yeah, I think that was the portion
Also in
of
the
the
contract
building
with the artist. What's that?
the proposal had I guess, a bar of the building along the street in the foreground, and that center area was an atrium of sorts. So this might be an elevation that becomes enclosed in a building, and it's a found object.
Right.
I think it's great to activate that space more and to have more art downtown. I think it draws people to want to bike around and look at it.
Yeah, the comment we get a lot is that people can tell we love our city by the public art that we have in downtown and throughout the city, really. But I think it sends a different message than we had been prior to the public art. It's very welcoming, and it's been really well received. So the next one we think is the one that 201 North Pearl that we really need your feedback on. And as Tony said, this is a private, it's a private residence with apartments in it. And the owner has offered the side of his building. And so we had proposed to paint directly on the side of the building. And like Tony said, that it would be some community meetings, community input, community feedback. And then based off of those discussions, a local artist would paint on the building.
Would you use the entire wall?
So Tony, you're
muted.
You're muted.
Sorry about that.
Would you use the entire surface, the entire wall as your mural? Or would you use half the wall as your mural, or a third of the wall, or 3/4 of the wall as your mural?
I would say probably about 65 to 70% of the wall, just to show that there is an actual wall behind it. But based on the artist's mock-up, we don't have that yet as far as the exact visuals. But I think showing some of the realness of the older wall itself will be part of the design element.
Yeah, I think it would be good to show the brick.
Yeah.
A fair amount of the brick. From the photograph, it looks like the building that used to be next to this wall had a gable roof. I don't know, at one point, and that type of ghost mark should be retained as much as possible. Leave behind, and it leaves behind it's a reminder that there was a building there.
Yep, absolutely. And sometimes even with the murals, like working with kind of those elements that give the history, having the art consider that, I think, is also really exciting because it's specific to that location. But it does respect and pay homage, to the past, but also looks to the future.
Yeah.
But yeah, that left-hand corner definitely would be open. And that's actually, I would say probably from the top down, maybe about 12 to 13 feet. And then also from the left-hand side working in, about 12 to 13 feet would also be open. That way it doesn't look like it's just kind of like the first mock-up that we showed where it does fill the full space. For this one, I think it does call for working with the elements of the actual spacing as well.
Right.
Use the building as the frame for it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and this one I think is exciting and important because it works with community members that live there. And I
Yeah.
think one of our past projects that we've completed this, I think it was in maybe June or July, on the old McDonald's on Madison and South Pearl. That lead artist actually is going to be working on this piece, and again, having community feedback and support, but then also having that artist be the artist that produces it. So community folks won't be actually painting on the wall, the artist will be doing that. But I think it is an important aspect to have community input.
So one of the things that should be discussed tonight is that criterion A under paint and other materials does address that previously unpainted materials should be avoided, painting them should be avoided. I don't know what the commission's view on that is, but that is one thing that we did discuss with Tony and Georgette when they did meet with planning staff, was that that criterion was brought up, as well as you know, this was a party wall at some point, but whether or not, you know, that does apply to the painting of a mural on the side of the building.
Well, does the surface need to be cleaned of plaster and all that stuff? I never did get to the site, unfortunately. So I'm just going by the image that I see. I see some white areas. Is that plaster?
Yeah, so there is some plaster. It seems to be still very tight to the wall. It doesn't appear to be flaking or kind of crumbling off. But again, if there's a specific thing that would need to be done beforehand, we would see if we're able to accomplish that before obviously we did any of the work.
Well, I fear that if you were to paint the plaster, at some point in time, the plaster may just come off, and along with the plaster comes your painting.
Mhm.
Correct.
Yeah.
I'll do another site visit.
You may think about removing all of the extraneous material down to the brick, and using your brick as your mural, as the canvas, if I can say that, because then you'll have a better adhesion of the paint.
Absolutely. I'll do another site visit for tomorrow, and then if it's able to go forward for the October meeting, I'll have those answers confirmed with also better visuals and close-ups of them as well.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Good. Aaron, is there any action that we need to take, or we're receiving this for information at this point?
This was just for information and to provide Tony and Georgette with any comments or recommendations before they submit their formal application. So because it is concept review and it's a public meeting, no actions need to take place.
There's a number of murals that are still standing they might want to take a look at. The one that Roxanne Storms did on Henry Johnson, right at the more or less at the head of Spring Street, is the bicycler, and that's just as large as the one that that we were shown, and it's still there after 40 years. The one on South Main Avenue went in the 70s, and the same kids that did it, these were all done with local artists. They all lived in Albany County in order to do it, and that was totally repainted a few summers ago with the same kids that had done it. There was a lot of community involvement in it. I still have a picture of the bus stop. Was the first one we did in 1901 or 2000 in
1901.
No, in 1971.
Yeah.
And that became a cover for a record promotion. I have that, and there's Ida Yarborough may still have the Long Island Ducks in the Senior Citizen Center up there. I think what went up with Henry Johnson on Henry Johnson Boulevard on the corner of Clinton was magnificent.
Yeah, it's phenomenal.
We have the one from on North Swan Street is fabulous, and that was done by Brother Youssef, and it's a good one. That we've seen the ones on Livingston with Rockefeller. I've seen the one with the animals on the animal on Central Avenue. There's one on still there, woods type scene on Second Avenue down below the Albany Civic Theater. We had some Trump de oil all over the library at one time. There's a number of things from the person over in Rensselaer as well, and and there's some of that as well. It's just, I think location is very important, and I think when you're intruding on a neighborhood where it clashes by color or size or whatever, you can do a job on the historic fabric of the building and the feeling for that building. I give you those examples of 10. There are others as well, and some have lasted a very long time. I remember these were all done by local people and usually had the approval of the neighborhood association before anything was done on it. And that's not always the way, way you can do it, but I think it should have people who really want to see it go up, and then have local people that'll work on the work. And the quality of the paint is incredible. If you cheat on the paint, it will be a problem. So you have to buy the best possible paint.
Yeah, and I agree 100%. And also the works that you mentioned, for this one, it would have, especially for this one being in the Arbor Hill community, we would have community stakeholders. Arlene Way is someone that we've worked with for many of our youth projects that we do, and it's in support of us bringing art into the community and having community conversations. The paints that we use, like I said, they're around $80 a gallon. They're kind of top of the line, best of the best. So we definitely don't skimp on the paint. And for us, the local aspect of it, while the gallery itself supports.
Oh, we lost Tony. So I think what we're saying is that at least half of so we have funding for 4 murals. At least half of them will go to local. If not all of them going to New York State. I think 3 of them going to New York State representatives, 2 of them being local, and 1 being a national artist, because we do think it does bring some recognition in the art community to our city as a capital city. We do feel we're also, deserving of big talent as well. And we, in the Capitol Walls program, when we have had national artists, we've had some of our artists have actually, local artists have been mentored under them or trained with them. There's a lot of, for some of the large scale murals, not all local artists have that experience. So they get trained working on that project. And so it's brought some great experience for some of our local artists to work on that together. So we'll definitely take all of your feedback, and we will complete our application and send that back to you guys and meet with you again, having addressed some of the feedback you've given us. So we appreciate your time.
Yeah, this is all very exciting, and we appreciate all your efforts.
Great. Thank you all so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
My phone died out, but thank you all. Have a great night.
Thank you.
You too.
Take care. Bye.
Aaron, is there any new business to come before the commission?
No, that was it. That's
Did
right.
we get anything on the 3 First Street buildings that were 150 years old plus that were all demolished? Did we get photographs taken? Did we get whatever?
There will be structural reports with photographs and the assessment of the structures. I have yet to receive them, but I will follow up with Chris Spencer when I'm back in the office next week to find out if we've received those reports from the engineers at this point. But with every structural report, photographs are taken of the buildings. But I have not received them yet.
Okay.
But I will find out.
Just to let everybody know, I did have a phone conversation with Jim Tobin a few weeks ago, and I guess the City Hall project is coming back to life, so they will be doing some samples, in situ samples for our review. So he was going to keep us posted on developments there.
Good.
Okay. Unless anyone else has something to bring to the commission, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right. All those in favor,
Aye.
wave and say good night.
Good night.
Aye, and good night.
Thank you all.
All right, bye-bye.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Bye-bye.
Good night, guys.
Good night.
The leave button is hiding way down there.